Well, I think we have everyone on who had registered, so we might as well get going here and get our topics covered and allow time for questions at the end. So I'm going to do a little introduction here and introduce some of the panel members quickly, and then each of them will talk individually. So we'll go about it that way. But thank you for your time here today. I know it's uh, a busy time for everybody, and hopefully you've learned some by reading and listening about the Multicultural Family Resource Center, but I think you'll learn more today and also more about the director's position. So that's what our goal is. We do have this panel of community members, and I'll just kind of go through some introductions here, and then we'll turn it back to them individually to speak. So Brett Abbots is our new superintendent of Greene County Community Schools, and Brett has really brought a lot to our group. He's had a unique experience in Council Bluffs with a position similar to what we're trying to develop here. So he's brought some good information for us. And he's also led the school board, and they're extremely committed to this project and important to them, and really has become a partner with us in trying to put this together. So I want to thank Brett. Our second speaker will be Kristen Russell. Many of you know Kristen as well, AAI Spalding. Kristen was very instrumental with her background in education in helping put together the position and job description for this director and what that's going to require. So Kristen's going to talk about that a little bit today. Then she's also going to talk about how the center will impact American Athletic and some of what their future needs are. Mary Nieto is the HR director at Greene County Medical Center. She's going to share some challenges that they've had and also some successes. And Mary brings a unique perspective as well, as she has a Latino heritage. And really important in her factors, is really helping the families in their need of transition. So Jim Ober will be next. Jim is Scranton Manufacturing New Way Trucks. Jim's going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that they've had and a timeline of change for them. And then he's also going to introduce some different levels of contribution that we're hoping for as we find investors to go down this road with us. Chuck Offenberger, most everyone knows Chuck. He's a past columnist for the Des Moines Register. He continues today with social media and local media coverages. Chuck's got a unique experience having been in Storm Lake when the diversity project kind of started there, and has followed that pretty closely, and has a real passion for this center that we're developing and the director's position for the future of Greene County. So those are the speakers. When they finish up, I'll kind of wrap things up, and we'll have a chance for questions and answers to follow that. So with that, Brett will put you up and listen to your comments. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, of course. Welcome everybody. My name is Brett Abbots, the superintendent here for Greene County Community School District. Just getting our second year off the ground and getting going here. So kind of just a funny comment, just hearing everybody talk about the rain. It's, with all of our students, it's like when they're at school, they just peel to the window. And it's like, oh my God, it's raining. But when you're at home, nobody cares, right? So just a kind of an interesting thing. So a couple of things for the impact of what this position could mean to our school district. One of the first kind of pieces of data that I'd look at really is that we've had a huge increase in the number of Hispanic and Latino students that we're serving here at Greene County. It's an 825% increase. For us, that's it's been about 29 additional students from 2016 through 2023. And then I just found out we just added one more today. So that's actually now 34. So whatever that percentage is. And most of these students are needing ELL services or are coming from purely non-English speaking homes. So that need for communication through translating and interpreting will be largely impactful for us. Our contribution from the school is going to total $17,000 $15,000 for salary, and then $2,000 for insurance. We are going to serve as the employer for this position, and we will facilitate the hiring with them. We have a couple of different avenues that we can use here to be able to kind of facilitate that. We will locate this person at one of our schools. We'll provide them access to a landline phone extension, as well as a Chromebook, so that they can have that whatever they need there to communicate via text, email, whatever, through their computer, and then also be able to take and receive calls there. So at the school, like I said earlier, kind of one of our primary focus needs is around communication. It's that translating and interpreting service. We had a situation yesterday that we required some interpreting for a situation we were dealing with here at the middle school. But as Sid pointed out there, so one of my experiences coming from my previous district was around community resource navigators. And so community resource navigators not only helped Hispanic and Latino populations, they helped a multitude of different populations. So, I've kind of added and changed, how I'm presenting each time. But as I can kind of think about this a little bit more, multicultural is potentially beyond Hispanic and Latino, but that is largely the population that we're seeing the greatest increases of around here. So we really look at it from a relationship standpoint as well, being a liaison between the school district, the family, and then the community, for them to be able to find the things that they need, be a contact point between family and school, develop a trusting, positive relationship with somebody that they can relate to. Just in past experiences, we found that to be a really powerful thing, to have those families not only attend, but then also stay within our school district and within our attendance area. So I think that's a really vital role. So really excited about this getting off the ground and seeing a lot of community support kind of building over these last these three presentations. So I'm looking forward to continuing to partner with our community here and make this a reality for us.
Thank you, Brett. Questions you may have, just kind of keep them towards the end. Our panelists will stay on board here. And if one of them needs to leave, we'll make sure their questions get to them beforehand. So with that, we'll move on to Kristen. Kristen, you're up.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, like Sid said, I'm the HR and safety manager here at AAI, right next door to the high school here, right on Highway 30. Used to be one of the largest employers in the area. We've kind of dwindled down a little bit, but I'm hoping to kind of ramp that back up too, which kind of feeds into this position that we're going to be creating to help with that. So we did title the position a multicultural community resource advocate. That's subject to change, of course, as the position develops over time and as we change the needs maybe of the position. I just listed out some of the main points of what this position would be responsible for. I didn't go into a whole lot of detail on each one of them. And I also didn't necessarily go through like educational and experience requirements, but there certainly will be requirements for this position that are going to be pretty critical to be met in order to qualify for it. The first, community advocate for incoming and existing families. And I know we talk a lot about adding to our population and getting more people in the community, but we also wanted to make sure that we support the community, the people in the community already. So just making sure that everybody does have all the resources that they need and, directing them, navigating, like Brett's word, navigate them to the areas that they need for all the stuff that they will be needing in the community. So the next item I listed was navigate through educational needs, which feeds into what Brett was talking about. So getting kids signed up for school, getting them registered, paying their fees, getting them their immunization records to where they need to go at the school, anything like that, and getting them signed up for classes and stuff. It's going to be pretty critical for their educational needs. Building relationships with community partners. So I heard the thunder outside now, goodness. So building with community partners. So not just within like local government agencies, but also within like different businesses, and maybe working with myself and Jim and other employers in the area about what kind of positions we have open and diverting new people in the area and existing families to different job opportunities that might be available. Just keeping them within this community as much as we can. Community outreach activities, I put that on here for a very specific reason, because if we do start to experience population growth within a diverse group, we want to make sure that the people that are already here are prepared for that. Do some cultural sensitivity training, things like that. Celebrating some of the different cultures, like right now is Hispanic Heritage Month. It started September 15th, and like that's a huge deal in the Hispanic community. So just making sure we celebrate things like that for all of the different diverse folks that are going to be coming to our area. Coordinate with local organizations to distribute needed items. That would include like Teresa Landsman, the folks over at the ARC, different groups that take in donated items that some of these families, lower income families, might be needing as they're coming into the area. Teresa does a great job with her like adoptive family program, the school supply fundraisers, and then coordinating the food needs with the ARC group here in town. Also, she does a great job with all that. And then identify and develop readiness plans. That ties back to a project that we were doing with Carlos from Latino IQ several months ago. He's been working with some of the larger employers in the area to identify different things that we might need to have in place as our populations continue to diversify. And Jim will talk about that a little bit with his presentation too, that whether we're trying to get a more diverse population or not, it is happening. And so we just want to make sure, like we're trying obviously to diversify our employee base here, and we just want to make sure that we're ready for it. So making sure that we have the translation, documentation and things like that that we need. And like Mary, I know mentioned in one of the previous meetings that she's got a translation service that they use, and just helping us get hooked up with different tools like that the employers can use. And as far as the importance of this position to AAI, we are, and I know Steve Cole's on the call right now too, he's our plant manager. We are hoping to have a pretty significant revenue growth in the upcoming years. And with that is going to be an increase in our headcount, both on the production floor and in the offices, customer service, engineering, places like that. So both in our hourly base and in more of our salary leadership type positions too. So as those numbers go up, we're going to attempt to try to bump up those diversity numbers with that. So trying to bring in new faces.
You're muted, Sid.
There we go. Thank you, Kristen. We'll move on now to Mary Nieto from the Medical Center. Mary?
Everybody, so I'm the HR director here at the Medical Center, and this associate that will be coming on board would definitely be a key partner with us here at the Medical Center. We see that this position, the center, would be able to partner with us when we are welcoming new hires to the new residents to the community, existing employees, helping out and understanding that there may be some resources available. When we look at our openings, we have about 28 openings right now. And when we're looking at all of the openings that we have, we're looking to fill the positions with qualified candidates, and qualified candidates may have, a difference. When we look at those candidates, we're looking for people with a diverse background. So we may be looking at, if we're actually, I'm entertaining a candidate right now who's been very open about their disability, having an amputation, a major amputation. Being able to work with the center and this associate to help understand what services that could be available, what resources could be available to candidates like that, those that speak Spanish or different ethnicities. So we definitely would be able to use the center and their resources to be able to help us out with that. We have been instrumental. We've been very fortunate to be able to hire many diverse candidates, those that speak Spanish, those with disabilities, and we've been able to work through ADA accommodations. And we haven't been able to keep all of our employees. There have been some employees that have decided after working here for a year or so that, just whether it's housing or whether it's other situations that are going on that haven't stayed. So our goal is that the community center would help those coming here to work and fill all these openings, help them make them feel welcomed. When you feel welcomed, you engage. When you engage in your community, you strive and you stay. So those things are really important to us. And we believe that this position and this center and this associate would be able to add some value in that. And we're really excited about that.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mary, for your thoughts and input. We'll move on to Jim Ober. Jim?
Well, thank you, and thanks for attending. I do want to start off, though. When we set up to do this we had an in-person meeting and 2 Zoom meetings. And just if you attend this and you have interest, please share this with others, as we're trying to reach as many people as we can. It's a challenge, but again, thank you for coming. But if you think this is of value and should be shared, please do that. So Scranton Manufacturing, New Way Trucks, owned by McLaughlin family companies, is building garbage trucks. That's our main thing. We have other branches, other things we do, but main location here in Scranton, founded here, and that is corporate. Carroll, we have 2 facilities over there, and then we have recently started up a plant in Mississippi. So I'm going back just a little bit, talking about the need, what this means to us. And in 2014, we did an expansion at Scranton, and that started we moved into it late 15, early 16. But following that, between then and 2020, we added on over 150 jobs. That's in this community. A lot of them lived here. So even at that time, that was a great growth, but yet it wasn't meeting the demand because we had so much demand for the product. Even with hiring those 150 additional people, we were not able to keep up. So Lee made the choice to add a plant in Mississippi. It gave us a different labor pool. Logistically, it gave us a better location from some of our Southeast customers. But the main reason was we needed to grow to meet the demand, and therefore we added this plant on. So, and timing wasn't the best because shortly after that, as everybody's aware of, COVID hits, and we get through part of that. But then what happened to us? It hit us really hard with the shortage of parts and shortage of trucks. So during that time, we had to cut labor hours here, and in turn, we lost some employees. We lost probably around 80 employees from when we started cutting hours, and we put ourselves on a hiring freeze to get people back up to full hours. But again, we lost those individuals. So it was mid to late 22 when we lifted that hiring freeze and started bringing people back on. But it's challenging. We have a very low unemployment. Greene County is very blessed with a lot of industry, but we are dealing with the same labor pool. And what we do is we exchange the labor pool back and forth. Our wages have continued to go up. We increase our benefits, but we're still just, within the community, we're stealing employees back and forth. And it's not really allowing a net growth, the potential that exists in this community to add those jobs to the community and bring residents in. And there's other factors with that. I know a lot of discussions about housing and many other of the groundwork things that have been placed with the child care and the school and things like that. But again, for us to grow, we have currently a record backlog, the highest ever. If you were to order a garbage truck today, it would be well over a year before you'd get it based upon our current production capacity. We have currently 25 openings in Scranton and 2 openings in Carroll. When I say that, I'm just kind of reflecting on Carroll is a little bit easier to get people because we have been drawing quite a few people from Denison. And then most of those are Latino. And with that, they're not willing to make the trip to Scranton. It's that extra 20 plus minutes to come that far. They're willing to drive to Scranton, but Carroll's kind of out of the question. And right now in Carroll, we have a 20% diversity rate, and in Scranton, we have a 10% diversity rate. So that helps you understand that piece a little bit. And of those, I spend time talking to those individuals, and they like Denison. They're very strong about family, cultural, the things going on in Denison, and they struggle with Carroll itself because they feel like Carroll is not as a welcoming community. That's just a few people's opinion. I'm not saying Carroll's a bad town, but that's the feedback that I get. And then we come back to say, how can it be welcoming? Because Mary brought that up. Welcoming. It's a big thing. When they walk in the door, even applying for a job, how do we treat it? What things do we have in place? From our policies to just the communication when they go through an interview are all key things to making us successful in this transition. Right now, the way it's going, the Mississippi plan, as I said, started up, opened the doors in late 19, early 20, and they are projected by 2025 to have more units built out of Mississippi than Iowa, just because we can get the labor force there. And that's just awareness. That's not a threat and saying, hey, we're moving all our jobs to Mississippi. That's saying we're kind of capped out here on how much we can do in Iowa at the current rate we're going. So again, this isn't just about Scranton hiring employees or AEI hiring employees. This is about the community and growing our county. The true success rate is going to be if we can increase the number of residents in Greene County to help supply these jobs, but also be people walking into our stores, the banks, the grocery store, going to our schools, the daycare, all those things that are in place. You even go downtown at the square, all the beautiful things they've done downtown in Jefferson. But you look at those stores, sometimes you wonder, how do they keep the doors open? And it's really going to take that foot traffic in there to make that happen. So community growth is very, very important to us, which we think is going to be key to the success. If we don't get the population growth, it's awful hard to justify where we're going with this. So what we're looking at, and Jason, you can pop this up on the screen. We're looking at a program which involves, you got the job description, all that, but how do we fund this? And one of the things we did, and this has been going on for a while to put this together, we were able to acquire a grant for almost $100,000. It's really the kickoff grant to get us through the first year. We want to hire somebody, as was proposed in the job description. We want to bring somebody on board, but what after year 2, 3, 4, and beyond, what's the plan? And the kickoff was really good because a lot of people had their budgets set, and then to say, hey, we need cash now is kind of a hard sell. People can plan, businesses can plan. If there's government entities involved, they need to plan. So what we're looking for is the second, third, and fourth year, which would be a 3-year commitment out of supporters for this project. And that would help create a substantial environment. It's going to help us acquire the right person too. If we say, well, this is a 1-year program and it might go on beyond that, it's a hard sell to get somebody of quality in the door. Or if we say, hey, we've got a commitment for 4 years. And the other thing is we're looking at, when I mentioned the government entities, we're actually going to the private side first. We feel if we're going to, there's going to be a gap, or if there is a gap or not a gap, we're going to need to figure out how to fill that. But if we go to the private first, that gives us a pretty good feather in our hat to go in front of these other entities and saying, look at the people behind this. And it's not just the dollar figure, it's the number of people that step up and want to be part of this, understanding what it means to their business or their vision of Greene County in the future of being able to grow that population. So anyway, where we're at, these are the levels proposed at this point. We've added in there another category, if someone just wants to be part of it, but financially, the brackets put up there do not fit. This is amount per year for 3 years, beginning in October of 2024. So where we're at right now, the grant that we have, we will be able to receive funds in October to kick this off. We obviously have to hire that person. And then this would be October 24, and then every year after that for the next total of 3 years. We're looking to have commitments by, tentatively, we're talking around the 10th to have the pledges. And then by the 16th, have everything locked in. So we're prepared. If we got to address the government entities, we have our ducks in a row. We know what that gap is and try to look at ways to fill it out. There is also the potential in the future that we can apply for additional grants and funds that may be out there. But right now we have to deal with the knowns when we're going to try to recruit a candidate. With that, I think I'm good with my part, Sid.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Very well done. Very informative there on the dollar amounts, and maybe there'll be questions at the end, but we'll handle them then. Chuck, we'll move over to you.
Thanks, Sid. Hi, everybody. Speaking at you from Okoboji. I'm at a writer's workshop up here for 3 days, but doing a lot of Greene County business while I'm here too. I have lived in Greene County for 19 years, and it really strikes me how different this community is today than it was 19 years ago. You can look around at the infrastructure changes that have happened here, and it's almost a different place. But what has really happened, the major difference, I think, between the Greene County I moved into in 2004 and today is that we've had huge investment here. It's astonishing. And as Scott Peterson, the city administrator in Jefferson, put together that application for Jefferson to become known as one of Iowa's 11 thriving communities, which will really help with housing. He came up with this figure after consulting with GCDC and company officials in Jefferson that in the last 10 years had been $128,700,000 in public-private investment in businesses, infrastructures, amenities. Incredible. We all know them. The high school, the renovation of the hospital, the daycare center, expansions of businesses, so many others things that have happened, downtown redevelopment. It's just been phenomenal. And I started thinking about, well, if that's the case for Jefferson, what about the rest of the county? So I did kind of a roundup around the county and looked into several developments that have happened in that time, about 3 times that much countywide. It's incredible what's happened here. And what we have really done is invested in our economic infrastructure in this county, when you think about it. What we don't have is people. And I have, one of the biggest stories of our era in Iowa today is how we're going to recover, or how we're going to cope or recover from the loss of rural population. It's a crisis all over Iowa. But I do know this from my long career in journalism and covering a lot of these communities that have been in transformation. The communities in rural Iowa that are prosperous today are diverse. And that says something to me. It kind of points in the direction of the way things are moving. We're different here. We don't have meatpacking in Greene County, but we are blessed to have 3 or 5 major manufacturers, all homegrown, now a couple of corporately owned, but they have had deep roots in this community and they have stuck here even in spite of the workforce challenges that they've had. And I think it's time that we make a major step to support them. And in doing so, we will also support all of our other smaller businesses and service providers in this whole county. Another thing that's very different today, for the first time, we have housing going to be available. GCDC has worked really hard with community leadership all over the county and in Jefferson. And we now have something in the neighborhood, 150 to 170, maybe even bigger number than that in terms of new residences that are going to be available here in the next couple of years, because we have 3 contractors from outside who have come in here and finally taken an interest. And of course, you know what's driving the interest from those contractors is they know that growth is going to happen here and that growth is contagious. I look at this, one of the things that's exciting to me about this is that I really do believe we have the opportunity to reverse 100 years of population decline in Greene County. We can grow again. And I think what we're going to wind up with as a result of this is what I call a multicultural workforce using the good old Iowa work ethic to produce for the global market. I think that's an idea that we ought to hang on to in the future. The schools have already stepped up in a major way. We're grateful to Brett Alberts, his staff, and the school board for becoming involved in this. And of course, the reason they're already seeing the change in their student population. It reminds me of my friend Eddie Diaz in Perry. Eddie's a native of Perry. He's a Latino heritage, U.S. Marine veteran, school teacher, principal at the Catholic high school, or at the Catholic school for a while. Now the director of the Van Kirk Career Academy at the Community College Center in downtown Perry. Eddie came up and consulted with us about 1.5 years ago as we were launching the diversity initiative, as we were calling it at the time. And we just ran by him what our ideas were and the plans. And Eddie said to me then, here's the thing. Diversity is coming to Greene County, whether you want it to or not. And he said, look at the census figures already. There are about 300 Latino people living in Greene County. And most of us think, where were they? Where are they? Well, they're here. And their kids are showing up in school. And Eddie's point was, this is coming to Greene County because it's coming to all over Iowa and across America. We're seeing this happening. And the thing is, since it's coming anyway, it'll happen a lot better if you embrace it and have a plan on how to assist it. And he says, I've listened to you, I've read about your plans. These are good plans. And so I felt strong then. What we're really talking about, though, is I want to go back to the point. This is initially our main interest in doing this was workforce building so that we can sustain our industries and not just sustain them, but allow them to grow and provide that opportunity. And so I think it's time for us to, all of us in Greene County, to step up and invest. Just like all the investment that's been happening in the past 10 years. Now it's time to step up for all of us and really invest. And I'm not just talking about these major employers here who have a real interest in it, of course. I'm talking about civic organizations. I'm talking about individuals. We all need to step up and invest in our community, and we'll be thrilled with the results. And in view of that, my wife, Mary Ritchie, and I want to tell you, and I hope you'll share this with others, that we're going to give $1,000. We're going to invest $1,000 per year for the next 3 years in this effort. And we invite others to step up and join us as individuals in doing that, while we're also asking for support from our businesses, from our major employers, other businesses, organizations, and maybe eventually our government entities too. So I say in closing, let's go and let's grow. That's where the future is for Greene County. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you for sharing your commitment and your pledge. I think we'll have several more of those that we'll be able to start sharing here in the very near future of some of our business and industry, and we've heard from some of them already, and so hopefully we can start sharing that with the community and grow some excitement through that. So thank you very much. A couple of things I want to touch on just a little bit deeper. Chuck referred to the housing, and it's been a big negative. We could not grow a population in the past year because we did not have the housing units to make that happen. A couple of years ago, Andy Rowland stepped up as an outside developer and took the challenge of creating three fourplexes, 12 units, going to rent for $750 to $850 a month. And there were a lot of naysayers that said that'll never happen. No one will pay those kind of rents. Well, he built them, and before they were done, they were 100% leased. Since that time, he has built another 8 units, and those are 100% leased. He built one home and it sold before it was finished. So Andy is going to start on his next project. He's received workforce housing tax credits, and he's going to do another 20 units, combination of rental and single family homes in that area around the water tower area where he owns that real estate. So that's Andy. Chuck referred to a large housing development. It's Kading Properties. Carrie Ramsey is the CEO of that company. She met with our city council just this past Tuesday and is very excited about working with the city of Jefferson and making a project happen here. The design's not completed yet, but she's talking in a neighborhood of 170 to 200 doors. And that'd be a combination of duplex, fourplex, eightplex, single family, all rental properties. And then there's a third developer that has had some interest, has come up here, done some really good looking around. And this is a single family home developer, kind of a little bit towards the other end of that scale. But when I listen to AAI, they're bringing engineers and they're bringing higher paid positions. There's going to be a need for those as well as the need we already have in our existing community. So I want to also touch on the Thriving Communities Award. Scott did a wonderful job putting that together. It is a really big asset. Those 11 communities are going to have priority when it comes to workforce housing tax credits. Carrie Ramsey told us if it weren't for the workforce housing tax credits, this project would not be possible in Jefferson. So that just is an indication of the importance of what was done and the work that went into receiving one of those 11 awards. We had a chance to go over to Cedar Rapids to the Iowa Housing Conference. Those 11 communities each had 11 minutes to tell their story. Chris Deal told of ours. And then we also had the chance to invest $1,000 to have a booth. And we were only one of 2 communities out of the 11 that spent $1,000 for that booth. But Scott told me yesterday that we have 5 additional developers, contractors that want to come visit Jefferson and make a plan to do that. So you can just see the strength and the positive vibes that comes out of that. And then Jim did touch on the grant. The grant's a wonderful thing and it gives us a foundation to start with here. But without the additional 3-year commitment, it's going to be very difficult to find the right person to bring in here and lead this project. So again, very important. But those are just some comments I wanted to add to give a little bit more depth to some of the importance of what that's happening. And it is about housing, and hopefully some of those get done here soon. And it gives some of these families the opportunity to move here and not just have to commute and make that commute. I've heard from Mary Nieto several times that she feels that they would be successful in filling some of those positions if there was housing available. I know she's had upper level positions that have not been able to find a home to live in and so chose not to move to Greene County Medical Center. They wanted the position, but when they don't have housing, it really makes it difficult. So I'm happy that we are starting to turn that rock over a little bit, I hope. So